Hi, this is Marianne with a scrapbooking process video using my last full sheet of the Studio Calico April 2014 kit. Right there I'm just showing the scraps I have left from the kit, and there's the one full sheet. It's black floral paper that I'm going to use on this layout, and that's it. The kit is done for me. I had two photos of my mother from 1953, right before her and my dad got married. They went sightseeing in New York City. So I had these two old photos that I then took a picture of with my iPhone, uploaded them to my computer, fixed them a little bit in Photoshop, and then printed them out with my selfie. So originally when I was thinking about this layout, they were little photos, maybe 4x4, and then because I printed them out with my selfie, they ended up being 4x6. So my measurements of what I thought I was going to do got a little messed up there. Those black leaves are from a cut file on my Silhouette, just something I bought in the Silhouette store. And originally I had the black floral paper with a piece of white cardstock and the black and white photos and just those black leaves, and I thought I was just going to do something very plain, minimalist almost. And then I started to look through my stash and I came across some Maggie Holmes, I think it's that mint green doily paper. I'm not sure what collection it's from. Oh, Style Board. It's from Style Board. It's called Vintage Charm. It's got birds on one side and just that pretty mint doilies on the other. And so right there I decided that I was going to cut out the middle of the black floral paper because I want to make one or two cards with it. It's such pretty paper. I really love it. So I cut out the back of it. I don't normally do that. Usually I just like to use the whole sheet and be done with the piece of paper, but it was too pretty to waste. So the black floral you're only going to see on the outside edges of my layout, and I cut the Style Board doily paper. I cut, I think, an inch off each side, off two sides, so that a half of an inch shows around all four sides. And then I had a scrap piece of Maggie Holmes right there. That's from, I don't know what collection that's from. I can't remember the name of it right now, but it's got like pink hearts on the other side, bokeh hearts maybe. So I just had a scrap of that, so I decided that's what I'm going to use to mat my photos. That's the flip side of the mint paper with the birds on it. I think I might have another sheet of that in a kit somewhere, so I wasn't too concerned about using up that pretty piece of paper. So I'm just going to layer that on top of each other, and then I'm going to mat my photos with that. It has numbers on it, and I didn't want the numbers to show. So I really just liked that it was off-white and that it had some grid to it. So my idea was I definitely wanted to put the title up in the corner with those two leaves by it. And I knew I wanted it to be black. So I went looking through my stash. I found these alphabets by Basic Gray, the out of print collection. And they're just right for what I wanted. So I wanted my title to be Sightseer. And in my head, I wanted it to be sight and then underneath seer. So now, right now is when I'm realizing I don't have any black E's on this sticker sheet. So then I look at the E's in the white and I see that I must have colored in an E with black marker to make it black, obviously. And so I decided I'm going to do that, and now I'm just checking on my iPhone. How do you spell sightseer again? I wanted to make sure that I was right. So now I'm kind of knowing that I might run into a problem because it's going to be sight on one side and then seer underneath, but it really looks more like seer. So sightseer, which is not what I want the title to look like. So I've got my letters picked out, and now I'm going to just put them up there in the corner and see what happens. That M is from Memory. I got out of Teresa Collins' memorabilia chipboard packet. I thought maybe it might match, but it's very white compared to the rest of the cream. So I'm not going to end up using that. And I'm just going to map my photos. And they're much bigger than I thought they were going to be originally. But that's okay. It's nice to have a nice big photo of my mother. And so I'm just going to put those leaves that I cut with my Cameo around the title. And I'm just going to see if my title fits up there. And I like the font. It looks like typewriter font. I didn't want anything too heavy. I wanted it to be kind of delicate. And I was happy to use up some of my basic gray stuff. So you see what I mean? It's going to say Sight Seer. Not what I wanted it to look like. So then I thought maybe I could hyphen it. Sightseer. But that's not going to work out either because maybe I would need another E for that. I don't know. It was just giving me a problem. The way I saw it in my head was different than the reality of the situation. So I'm going to try that hyphen. That is not right at all. And then I'm just fixing those E's that I colored. I wanted them to look a little bit more cohesive with the other black letters. Yeah. Okay. So I'm giving it up on the two lines there, and we're just going to go straight across Sightseer. So I'm going to rethink just the way I had things there. I like the idea of those leaves framing the title. That was my original idea. So I'm going to see how that will work out with the title going straight across the top of the page. And you know what? It's going to work out fine. So I also picked these to go with this layout. They're thickers from American Craft. They're called Celebration. I'm not sure if it's with an actual collection. I feel like it was like a Dear Lizzie, maybe. I'm not sure. But and there's my washi tape. So I'm going to write Sightseer NYC underneath. But it needs to be grounded, those three letters. So I went looking in my washi for just a black. So this one's a skinny black dot, but it's going to be too skinny. I'm going to have to double it up. And that little box of washi you saw is actually pretty much all my washi. I purposely haven't gone crazy buying it because I just have so many embellishments. So I tried to limit myself on some things. And you know what? I have just enough. I always find just what I need. So I just doubled up that washi because it needed to be a little bit thicker and ground those three letters NYC. And I'm just going to ink the edges of the photo mat. It's a Prima chalk ink. It's called Old Road. And I'm just going to do the edges of those letters. And they have no stickiness to them whatsoever. So I'm just going to make sure I like the way that looks. And now I'm going to fiddle a little bit with those leaves I cut with the silhouette. And I certainly haven't been using my Cameo as much as I should be. But I had cut those a while ago, and I just really liked the way they looked. I also pulled another sheet of Maggie Holmes tags, also Flea Market. It's from the Flea Market collection, and so are the chipboard. Those are from Flea Market also. All of Maggie Holmes, all her stuff coordinates from all the different collections. So I'm just looking on the chipboard sheet to see what I might want to use. I like that camera, but it has too much white in it for this cream-based page. So now that I have the leaves pretty much where I want them, I'm just going to put a pop dot behind each one, just so I don't lose the placement of it before I glue down the page. So that's where I want it, and now I'm just going to cut the tags apart, which was a little hard to do because they didn't match up side to side, so if I liked one side and cut, it kind of didn't work out on the opposite side. But so my idea is to cut apart the tags and just layer up a few of them. So that's what I'm going to do now. And unfortunately, I didn't realize how zoomed in I was on the camera, so some of this cutting I'm just going to do off camera. So I really like that one black tag. It's got an ornate kind of design on it, and anything that had the mint green in it I'm going to use, and anything that had white with some lines like writing paper. I'm going to use those. And I'm going to use that big piece right there as my journaling block. It's got a few pink splatters on it, and that's going to be the only other color in this page. It's hardly noticeable. Okay, so there I glued down my photo mat, and now I'm just going to ink up the edges of some tags and layer them up, see how I like them. And the part of the tag that was bothering me is the round hole part, because one was hot pink and one was yellow. So I said, oh, maybe I'll color them in. Well, then it didn't really look so good. I was really just trying to avoid going to look for the circle punch that I knew probably fit that. So I colored it in and then cut it with my Crocodile and said, all right, let me just go look for the punch. So there, I'm going to punch it, I'm going to glue it on top of where I colored so it looks a little bit nicer. And then I'm going to punch a hole with my Crocodile, but unfortunately I used the small hole. And then I kept saying, gee, why does that look so small? So I would punch another hole and another hole, and I just made a big mess. So I just have to punch another one, glue it on top, and then I'm going to use the right size of the Crocodile to punch a hole. I'm doing it to the other tag that has a yellow reinforcement, I guess you would call it. And just making sure I'm using the right side of the Crocodile, which is really just a little bit too small to punch a hole, but I can't find my regular office-sized one. I think one of the teenagers in the house used it for something and didn't put it back. Because I am going to go look for that in a minute, because I have some more tags to do. But I'm just inking the edges with that Prima chalk ink, and I'm just going to decide how I want those few tags to be layered up. There, like that. And I went back to the Teresa Collins memorabilia chipboard because I knew I wanted something across the lineup there. I remembered there were some words. So there was a chipboard word, remember. It really fits perfectly in that spot right across the tags. So now I'm just gluing down, and as I went to go use my Scotch quick dry adhesive, it was a little gunky. I think I left the cap open the last time I was using it. And it's been a little bit hot and humid around here, so it sits right next to the window, so I think it just clogged up a little bit from that. I just stuck a pin in there and it worked fine. Cleaned it out. It's all good. So there we go. Now it's going to work. So I'm just going to glue down. And I'm really happy that I used up all the pattern paper in my April kit. And I don't know that I can say the same for the May kit, and the June kit should be here any day. So we'll see. I don't know that I'm going to limit myself to just one kit from here on out, but I'm glad to be done with one. Less stash. And don't forget, I run the Stashbusters challenge over at 2peasinabucket.com on the general scrapping board. There are a set of 5 challenges every 2 weeks, and you could win a small scrapping goodie from me just by participating. And the best part is that you use up your stash and you scrapbook. That's really what it's all about. So come check it out. I'll put a link to this week's challenges in the comment section if you're interested. But it's a lot of fun. Gets everybody scrapping. So I'm off camera, unfortunately. So I just had some other tags that I inked the edges of, and I'm layering them on the bottom of the page. And then there was another little, it wasn't a tag, but it was just a piece of paper on the tag cutout sheet that said lovely, and it was in a darker teal green that coordinated with the layout, so I'm going to layer that on there too. And I really liked it was attached to this little pink thing that said antique show, but it was pink, and I didn't want to put any more pink on the layout. But my grandmother, my mother's mother, used to own antique shops, so I would have liked to have put that on the layout just because it has meaning for me. It wouldn't, nobody else would even notice it, but I like to put little stuff like that when I come across it because it has meaning to me. I know it's there. So, and these really are lovely pictures of my mother to see when she was young, before she had 6 kids. And she's no longer with us. It's been, I think, 17 years since she passed away. So I still miss her every day. And it's just a nice, when I'm doing the page, I'm thinking about her and how pretty she looked. So it's just a nice memory for me. Not that I remember this day, but just that she looked so happy. So there's that little piece of paper that says lovely. And so I layered up 3 tags, and there is a butterfly and an old-time, it looks like a speedometer that I got from the Maggie Holmes chipboard sheet. And then I'm just punching 3 of this little Martha Stewart like leaf punch because it needed something down there. So there's my button jar, because I know that I have those newsprint ones. I think it was Daisy D's those are from. I've had them for the longest time. I don't even know, maybe 10 years. But when I was doing this layout, I was like, oh, you know what would look nice on here? One of those buttons. And they were right in my button jar. So I'm going to just put those 3 little leaves down there in the corner with a Daisy D button on top. And there's a mint doily chipboard piece that was from the Maggie Holmes sheet. And I'm just going to layer that chipboard butterfly on top, the speedometer. So I have a little cluster over there, even though it's a little bit off camera. And in a minute, my camera battery is going to die. So that's not going to be on there. I didn't do too much off camera to finish this up. Up by the title, Sightseer, I'm going to punch a butterfly and put an enamel dot on there. And also by my journaling, I'm going to punch a butterfly and put an enamel dot, because right after I glue down that button, I'm going to put a few enamel dots there too and just journal. So after I put glue dots on the button, I realized it would probably look nice if I put some twine through. So I end up going with the black and white twine, feed it through the button, I make a little bow, and then I'm just going to sprinkle a few black enamel dots there. And then my camera battery is going to die, but my page will be done. So at the end of the video, there will be a still picture of my finished page. And there you can see it pretty well there. Just going to add some journaling, just about what my mother had written on the back. In one picture, she was at the Empire State Building, and the other picture, she was at Rockefeller Center. And that's really all I wrote, just that. And she had written the date, March 1st, 1953, 2 months before my parents were married. So that's it. Just a pretty vintage looking page, which I'm really happy with the way it ended up, considering it started off really, in my mind, it was just going to be really plain. And it feels good to just use your stuff. So there I'm just deciding which enamel dots I want to use. And I'm going to go for some basic gray ones in black. Just sprinkle a few around. And that's it. The page is done.